everybody, and welcome to the Twist Happy Hour. I'm Keryn, and this is Kate, and we like to talk about cocktails, controversy, cupcakes, canoodling, canoes, and not really crime, although that Natalie Wood episode.
Have an episode about canoes.
All just C words, so there's a couple C words. So, but today, we don't really have a cocktail, do we? But no. I'll throw one in the show notes if people want
a mocktail. I'll use that.
Oh yeah, we are going to make a mocktail. So just apple cider and ginger beer. So you want 2 parts apple cider, lime. So 2 parts apple cider, 1 part ginger beer, and then a splash of lime.
And a splash of lime.
It's a great fall mocktail and super easy. Even my kids drink it.
Splash of lime. Okay.
My kids drink their body weight in apple cider and in ginger beer. So you mix the 2 together and they're pretty happy.
My husband loves apple cider. I'm mediocre on apple cider.
I just picked up mulling spices, so I'm going to have hot mulled apple cider.
Yeah, pretty glass.
Oh, you put it in a pretty glass, too. So is it nice and warm because you didn't put any ice in it?
No, it's okay, actually.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. Little spritz.
A little spritzy. Okay, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about fiscal responsibility on so many levels, particularly governmental and billionaires.
So this episode's from old school Republicans. Where you at? Right? Because fiscal responsibility, that was like the whole...
That is old school because it certainly isn't now.
Whole jam was fiscal responsibility. I remember my father saying, fiscal response. And I'd be like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And I'm just, we are currently not being as fiscally responsible as we could be. And I think a lot of people are starting to kind of see that be a thing.
Yeah.
So I am going to play the part of I believe everything that's coming out of the White House. I'm going to say that is the part I'm playing.
If nobody can see my face right now, it has shock and horror on it. This is very not Kate.
Look, sometimes you gotta go back and forth. So we supposedly saved $1.4 billion with Doge. Okay. Now, maybe you think Doge was good, maybe you think bad, whatever. That's what they're reporting we saved with Doge, $1.4 billion, I like saving money, right? However, as of today, we have now spent a ton of money on this ballroom that's happening. We are spending a ton of money on this Qatari jet that is now having to be retrofitted into Air Force One. Now there's a proposed Arch de Triomphe, but except for it's an Arch de Trump, I guess, is going to be the new thing in D.C.
So to be clear, all of these only benefit Trump.
Right. I don't think we're ever going to get to go to the ballroom.
Yeah, the ballroom, we're never going to go on Air Force One.
Sure as shit, I'm not going to be able to go on Air Force
One. And there's now an arch in his name.
Yeah, we could go see the arch. I guess that's for us a little bit. So collectively, not to mention $3 billion that we're sending over to Israel yearly, right? Not to mention the Venezuelan bailout of
Argentinian bailout.
I'm so sorry, not Venezuela.
Venezuela, we're just invading. Argentina, we're saving. Because we like their president.
$20 billion. It's also being reported that it's $40 billion, but the second $20 billion is coming from private investors and private banks. So I'm not counting that in because I just want to talk about taxpayer dollars because this is all.
Where's my money going?
Regardless of who you voted for, you're paying taxes. This is where your money's going, right? So at best case scenario, Doge saved $1.4 billion. We are going to spend upwards of $23 billion based on the cost of all of these things. And this isn't even keeping an annual, I know we send money to Israel every year. So this is just for 1 year, right? In what way is this fiscally responsible? And how is anyone who is ever an old school Republican who is fiscal responsibility, how is anyone okay with this, I guess, is my question. I don't understand. I know that Tucker Carlson isn't okay with it. He has said as much on his podcast. I know Candace Owens is not okay with it because she's like, well, where are we doing? So there seems to be a little bit of a break from the what once was. And people are starting to go, it's not, because we're fundamental party things that, were their policies that they were very specific on. So
well, I mean, the Republicans of the 80s would not recognize the Republicans of the 2020s.
No.
At all.
No. My parents, who they're friends, they're all like, wait, what are we doing? I don't love that.
Yeah.
Even with the big, beautiful bill, there were so many. I mean, Thomas Massey is like, dude, do you know how much money this is going to add to the deficit? That's very, like, he's not saying that to be anti-American. I feel like everything is pegged as like, you're just not a patriot. Yeah. Thomas Massey isn't not a patriot because he was like, dude, that's going to add a lot of money to the deficit. If you're a human being who lives in a household and does a budget, and your spouse comes in and says, P.S., I'm putting a pool in. And you're like, well, we can't afford that. It's going to add like a lot of debt to. And they're like, no, I'm doing it anyway. You'd be like, whoa. Hold up. And I'm just wondering like where that has gone with the American people. Where is their sense of just overall like, hey, like maybe we shouldn't spend.
Well, like 20 billion, you said, is for these 3 projects that only benefit Trump, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Upwards of 23 billion.
$23 billion. But we're not putting any of that money into housing, transportation, interstate improvement, feeding people, re-education for jobs.
Roads.
Yeah.
You know how many potholes that I have fallen into?
Oh, we're not going to get started on my pothole situation on my street right now.
Like just infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Like
instead, he's taking money away from infrastructure projects that would benefit the average person. He canceled it all for Chicago. He's taken it away from LA, all the federal funding that was going towards infrastructure improvements.
Well, and we're losing all the federal, like all of this money is going to be diverted from somewhere else, right? I don't know why I'm using this pen now, but it's part of my shtick.
I like it. We're getting very...
But it's like if you live in rural Tennessee and you are a farmer, I don't even know if that's a thing.
It is.
And you have an airport that when you farm your goods, crops, and you send them into the airplane at that airport, and that airport is running into issues because they need a new runway or whatever. Like these are all things that we could be putting this money into that would benefit Americans across all 50 states. If you live in North Dakota or Montana, like are your airports in great shape? Could they use a little work? Like these are the things that I think interstate roadways, like all of these things that are like, why wouldn't okay, let's make it really easy. If we could take I don't even know how much it would cost, but if we could take that 23 million, take a chunk of it and make it so we don't have to have toll roads anymore to pay for roads. Are we not paying enough? Like we pay taxes, we pay for tolls, are we not paying enough? Like, can we not have toll road? Like maybe we could take that money. Who wants to pay a toll on either side? Who wants to, like, wouldn't everybody be happy with that?
Oh, everybody would be. And it's not feeding, but it's benefiting the base of the Republican Party if they're fixing these things. It's not just saying, oh, we're only going to fix it in California and Chicago. Well, no, like the entire state of Illinois, Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky, all these places need this money and nobody's getting it because we're building a gold ballroom and an arch and a new Air Force One.
We're going to build Iron Dome as well.
And an Iron Dome.
But I live in the reddest of red states. I live in a blood red state. And
of Florida.
We could use some stuff. I mean, we've
not just alligator Alcatraz.
We have some bridges that could probably use some. I mean, every time there's a hurricane, they like check every bridge and they're like, is it okay? So I feel like that is something that could absolutely be paid for. I mean,
well, and it's not like a socialist issue then either. You're not saying let's put it to healthcare and homelessness and like ending poverty and like a food deficit for America's children. No, we're saying put the money towards a road because that's going to help the average American worker and the companies that are here.
For farmers. I eat things that grow on farms.
Well, we keep talking about making America great again, but we're not doing anything that actually does that.
I would think, okay, so anyone watching who has ever been in business, owned a business, whatever, investing in your business, investing in your home, fixing up your kitchen or your bathroom, those are good investments. Those are considered good investments, right? And ultimately, in the long run, they're going to make you money, right? Isn't that kind of the idea behind investing?
It's good. Like mortgages are good debt because you're building equity with them. There is a helicopter going over you.
Because we're talking about this probably.
Of course. Yeah.
Yikes.
They found you, Kate.
My point is like you investing in yourself in the US, taking that money, like when you make a profit as a business owner and then invest that profit back into your company, you're going to reap the reward of that. Why are we, if I'm to believe that this man is this brilliant, genius business person, that's business 101. So why are we not doing that?
Why aren't we reinvesting?
Why would we not invest in ourselves and in the American people and in the farmlands and in all the, the poor soybean farmers are losing so much money. Like, why are we not investing into?
Well, and why aren't we investing in the re-education of coal miners and natural gas and all these workers that he keeps claiming he's, all for, and let's keep the coal mines going. Coal runs out. That is not a finite resource when you could be re-educating all these people to be techs, to be whatever you need to do on alternative energy.
Right.
Saving the world, the climate, and like global warming is not an evil thing. That's an issue that I've never understood as a bipartisan thing. Taking care of the planet should just be a given. Okay, we're going to run out of this resource. How do we make sure we have other resources and people still have jobs? Education and putting money into education, which I know is a big thing because once we educate the public, then they know what they need to be complaining about instead of just following like little sheep, which is what's happening. I mean, that's why they're like, there's no more Department of Education. We're not going to give more money. Like my kids barely have books. I'm like, I will buy everybody books. Like,
Well, and to your point, why wouldn't we? Isn't it fiscally responsible to invest more in education instead of saying education isn't working, so we're just going to get rid of it? Like, we're not doing that anymore. That's not how you improve something, right?
Yeah.
So, and we still have to educate the people. Because here's why. Investing in education is going to make for better educated Americans. Better educated Americans are going to make more shit.
Except for the problem of then they'll also have opinions and they will know what you're doing is wrong. And now they vote against you.
Yeah, but as an average, if you're approaching this from the mindset of an average American, an average Republican American, why would you ever want to not educate people?
Yeah.
Why would you?
That I don't understand. I understand why politicians don't want to and why the rich don't want to. Because it's
why
also.
Would you ever want to take money away from educating the next generation of Americans? Because they're going to be innovators, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want them to be.
Well, and that's our greatest resource is America's a country of ideas. That's where a lot of our money has come from. Silicon Valley, all these innovations. Yeah, we ship the manufacturing part over, but the fact that we now have scientists and engineers and everything leaving the country because we're not allowing them to do the research that they need to do to continue to move us forward. We've now outsourced all of our ideas as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those, like, what do we actually bring to the global?
Well, and if we are going to beat the new space race is the AI thing.
Yeah.
If we are going to beat anyone else in the AI race, we've got to be investing in ourselves and in our...
We have to stop defunding the top universities that are churning out all of these people and these ideas and punishing them because they use their First Amendment right. Although,
which is such a the whole argument against the higher education thing is insane to me because all of the people making these decisions are higher educated. They all went to J.D. Vance went to Harvard.
Yeah, it's like, we're going to punish you because you're not policing your protesters,
right?
So now you don't get any money. Now you can't have any of the international students that also bring a lot to our education system. Yeah. We could talk about that for years.
It's the international students.
Because they're being educated in ways we are not in this country.
And it's great. And it's great for us. Because here's what happens. They come to the United States to live the American dream. They go to school here. They become inventors of something. And then they pay taxes into our tax system, work here. It's better for us, benefiting us.
Yeah.
If we kick out everybody that does that so that basic white guys can have that job, there's a reason basic white guys don't have it, and it's not DEI. And it's not fiscally responsible to do that because you're losing again, if you look at if the argument is he's a good businessman and, you have to look at the United States as a company, then if you have people who are coming to work for your company, who are innovators, who are bringing new ideas to the table, who are thinking outside the box because they're from another company, right? That's going to benefit us in the long run.
Yeah.
So it makes zero sense to get rid of everyone that could be. I mean, the dogs agree.
My dog is yelling at a delivery person.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you know how I feel about educating everybody and making sure that everybody has access to education. I mean, that's something that I really appreciate about our county is all kids are guaranteed acceptance to our local state school as long as they have a 2.0. They all get a year or two of community college for free if they want to. Right. They all get free bus passes. There's food provided at school. So they take every barrier to entry away from the kids in our county who want to go to school. Now, the kids that don't want to go to school or that's not a priority, that's something different. But if you have any will to make it happen, our city and our county are going to make it happen for you.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. That's where I want my tax dollars going. I want it to be going, not just because I'm a parent. Like, I have always felt like education, especially having spent a chunk load of money on my student loans, I have always felt like education is the only way that we can really continue to move forward as a society.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Continue to innovate, continue to, be able to hit the next 100 years and survive it without AI taking over, which we all know. I love my disaster films. And, the fact that we want to hand everything over to AI and there's been at least 25 movies made about how that went horribly wrong is a different story.
Even the guy who invented AI is like, this isn't great.
This is bad news.
We should probably put some regulations on it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's funny because this is like, to your point, I had my 15-year-old came to me the other day and asked me what progressive ideologies are. Because he hears it in the news, he hears it, online, whatever. And progressive ideology, those words have become like the bad words. I said, well, let's break it down, right? Because, all he hears is like Democrats and their progressive liberals and their progressive ideologies. I didn't realize progress. I mean, the carousel of progress at Disney seems pretty great because they didn't have microwaves. Now they do, right? Like, we didn't have phones and now we do. We don't poop outside anymore. That's a progressive idea. And so I broke it down for him. I said, progressive is progressing forward. Ideology is having ideas. So forward thinking ideas is what progressive ideology is. And he was like, and why is that bad? And I was like, I don't know.
Because it's also become this label. It's like evangelical Christians are all horrible human beings. While in the 70s and 80s, evangelical Christians, and maybe we'll have a different discussion about this one day, I was raised as an evangelical Christian.
Sure.
And all that meant, at least in my mind as a kid and even now, was we were not Catholic. We were not just singing hymns and doing lots of like liturgical things. You sang like the praise and worship music. You raised your hands. We weren't quite as Pentecostal as snakes and all that stuff. But it was just more like there was more emotion involved in your Christianity and in your faith. Well, now, if you tell someone you're an evangelical Christian,
oh my God,
you're like the devil. And I cannot identify as an American evangelical Christian anymore because it's been so vilified at this point. And
it all comes back to the divisive. These are the talking points they are using to divide the American people.
It's political marketing.
Because if we are divided, we're not talking about fiscal responsibility. We're talking about who's using what bathroom.
Yeah.
And actually, nobody cares. Nobody cared 10 years ago. Nobody cares now. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that is just and it is very much like these talking points of, we're just going to say these words and it's the Antifa. I did a whole TikTok the other day about, just so everyone knows, Antifa means anti-fascist. Tell me why that's bad. Now, you can say that there's a group that's violent or breaks into things, burns buildings down, and that's not great. But the idea of being anti-fascist doesn't seem bad to me.
Unless you're a fascist dictator trying to take over the country.
So I'm not sure, but I think by shortening these things, it gives, to say just progressive ideologies without the explanation, to say DEI, to ask somebody, what do you not like? Diversity? Do you not like equity? Or do you not like inclusion? Which one of those things really bothers you? To shorten these things into these acronyms that you can just use at woke, right? Yeah. My favorite line ever from Ron DeSantis, our governor, was when he said, Florida is where woke goes to die. And I thought, if you say what woke means, I don't think anybody's going to get behind that statement.
Yeah.
Because then you'd have to say, this is where awareness of social injustice goes to die. And people would be like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. So it's, and this is the problem. And going back to this early Republican thing, they're getting away, they're pushing all of this kind of rhetoric and acronyms because it takes away from what people used to care about, which is fiscal responsibility, foreign policy. Who's talking about foreign policy anymore?
Oh, nobody, because we don't want a foreign policy. We're going back to that isolation and
we live in the world. The world is made up of other places. You have to have foreign policy as a government. These are the talking points that used to be back in the day. Rush Limbaugh used to talk about this. You know what I mean? This is back in the day when people were yeah, we need better foreign policy and we need to, even if you were we shouldn't get involved in so much stuff or we shouldn't do, great, that's still foreign policy. Now it's just there's no one is getting on CNN, on Fox News and talking about these things that really mattered to people 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
Well, was it Republicans that were small government, big military, and Democrats were
small government,
big government, small military? It was the opposite for Democrats.
I know that my father was very much small government.
Yeah.
Fiscal responsibility and small government were
we sure aren't at this point.
No.
So, and we're definitely big military, whether it should be or not.
Which, again, it goes back to this concept of, are we doing right by, are we spending money the right way? We already have the strongest military in the world. If you have the best bike in the world, are you going to go buy another bike that is just like it? No, you probably just be good with the one. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to continue to throw money at something that isn't a problem while you ignore throwing money at things that are a problem for everyone.
Well, and being fiscally responsible and then shutting down the government where your military doesn't get paid is a whole different talking point we'll have. We'll see where that shutdown is.
At the end of the month because they got paid 15, so we'll see.
We'll see. If you ever wanted a coup.
I hope they do. I hope they figure it out because
we need it. But that's all the time we have today to talk about the country's fiscal issues because you can solve that in 25 minutes. So thank you for joining us at the Twist Happy Hour, where we like to talk about politics and cocktails and anything really happening in the world that's tickled our fancy this week. And remember to like and subscribe and comment and let us know what you're talking about at home over your happy hours. So thanks again. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.